Peter. How are you doing? Everything fine on your end?
Life is beautiful. It's good to be with you.
Life is beautiful in Bitcoin land. That's amazing. Maybe before we get started, you have been on 2 times on the show. You have been on almost all the other podcasts. So probably most of the people listening here know you. But for the few people that haven't seen your stuff, give us some background of like who you are and especially why you're excited about Bitcoin.
Robin, thank you for that. I guess my background has been in investment advice and in and around finance for the last 25 years. We've helped people across all facets of finance, from investment advice right through to credit, debt obligations, and then finding investments that are going to help, I guess, outperform anything else that's out there. We also have spent a lot of time specializing in helping clients set up the proper trust structures or entities that they need in order to, I guess, successfully navigate the whole host of obligations that are bestowed upon us, and do that in the most tax effective and asset friendly or asset protective friendly manner. And I guess 10 years ago, we started giving advice on Bitcoin. Actually, just under 10 years ago now, we started giving advice to our clients on Bitcoin. And it started off as a relatively innocuous suggestion to put 1% to 2% of their net assets into Bitcoin as having some exposure as a hedge for a catastrophic failure of the system. And that from that initial advice, our clients are up nearly 190 times on the initial investment that they put in less than 10 years. So it's been a fabulous ride for our clients. And I'm very happy to say that we've been giving advice in this space for the last, nearly 10 years now.
And it's amazing. And 10 years is a long time in Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin hasn't been around that long. So 10 years is a very long time to be in the Bitcoin. And also, I feel like, I don't know if there's someone else, but I feel like you maybe the most bullish man in Bitcoin. Maybe there's someone else. I don't know if you think that's fair to say.
Look, it may be fair to say, but I think everyone has their own interpretation of bullish. But I just look at what this represents for all of us, and I think it's an opportunity that comes along once in a species. To coin a friend of ours, Jesse, and his article, I just look at this and think, if people understood what the alternatives were from an investment case perspective relative to Bitcoin, if you go across the gamut of all of the investment vehicles or options that we give advice on, we give advice on venture capital, private equity, stocks, bonds, property, commodities. And I look at this and think, here we have a relatively new asset that is completely misunderstood. No one really understands what this is, and I feel like I'm really late to this party, and I've been here nearly 10 years, and I'm still grappling on a day-to-day basis with what the ramifications of this technology is going to be. And I look at this and think, probably the simplest way for me to break this down is that the reason why I'm so bullish is that there may be 1 million people on Earth who understand that Bitcoin is a need, but say 8 billion people think it's a want. But really it's a desire. They think it's a desire, and nice to have, but maybe 1 million people on Earth understand that everyone on Earth is going to need this at some point in time. And rather than being a nice to have, it's going to be a must have. And to the conversation that we had prior to sort of jumping on here, I think that our friends in, say, the subcontinent, India, Africa, understand this problem much better than us in Europe, the US, and Australia can comprehend.
It's crazy to think about that, because I don't even think it's 1 million. Like I like the people that really understand, because there are a lot of people that hold Bitcoin that just like have it. Oh yeah, I have like $1,000 in Bitcoin to diversify, and those are all getting like counted in those statistics. And it's hard to say like how many people actually understand it. If it's like 300,000, 700,000, or like 2 million or 1 million, like it's hard to say, but like 1 million is, I think, a good guess. But I think it's pretty obvious that's a lot less than 8 billion. And then it's like, yeah, like how much is it from like we are at over 100K with a million people understanding it. Where are we when people actually like, oh shit, that's not optional. This Bitcoin thing, we need it. And that's why I'm also with orange pilling. I'm like, I try no longer to sell it to people outside of the people that I really love, because they will benefit the most. If someone that is just here and like, oh, like he shits on Bitcoin, yeah, like, okay, you do you. I know you will get to Bitcoin eventually anyways, because you have, as I have, no choice. And it's kind of weird to think about. There's so few that really understand it, and everyone has to get it, even though if they not understand it, because like peer pressure, the game theory, the group thing, like it's just pushing people in there. It's crazy to think for me.
That's the gorgeous thing about this. And to your point there, people think we have a choice in this. And the sad part is that no one has a choice. It's just a matter of when you get on the train. Do you get on the train now? You're going to be rewarded handsomely for doing it sooner rather than later. But some people will not be pushed onto that train. They will go absolutely reluctantly onto that train. And this is the opportunity. This is, the juxtaposition of, the cost and opportunity cost of delaying that. And this is where what's really funny about this is, for anyone who's had a modicum of interest in Bitcoin and spent time studying it, I think a fisherman sees a fisherman from afar. We've all had similar experiences in this Bitcoin journey, and this is really almost like a rite of passage for coming into adulthood or becoming a Bitcoiner. Is, there's a whole host of trials and tribulations to go through in order to, I guess, go down that Bitcoin rabbit hole and feel very comfortable with it. But what awaits you on that journey is one of self-discovery and really understanding and learning about yourself. A great teacher on, how you deal with pressure, how you deal with volatility, and most importantly, it gives you a very acute sense of critical thinking because of the volatility attached to Bitcoin. It gives you a lot of time to reflect on, have I made the right decision with this investment? Have I made, is all of my investment thesis still working relative to everything else that's going on in the world? Do I still have, does my thesis stand up to, the changes that we've seen?
For me, there's never been anything comparable that we have now with Bitcoin. I don't know. You have more life experience than me, and you're probably better in history than me. But is there anything that you're like, this can be slightly compared to what's currently going on with Bitcoin, in terms of the biggest wealth transfer that we ever had?
I think this wealth transfer you talk of is twofold. Yes, I don't think there's ever been a bigger one in raw numbers, but I don't think there's going to be a quicker one either, which is the really compelling reason for Bitcoin. And this is the thing where I sort of, a lot of people want to really bash the boomers for the state of the world. And the fact is, I think the boomers have done a really good job. They've avoided World War III. They've avoided a nuclear holocaust. There's a whole host of things. They've freed the world from communism. They've liberated, East Germany. Russia is now, I guess, a democracy, if you call it that. We've liberated 1 billion people out of poverty through India, via India and China with capitalism. There's a wonderful thing. Like, the legacy of the boomers has been absolutely fantastic. However, everyone wants to rag on the boomers for doing what any self-interested person would do. And that is accumulate as much wealth as they could. And I look at this and think, it's very easy to be upset with the boomers and despondent and jealous of all of their achievements. But the fact is, we as a generation have got far more opportunity than they ever had. And if you focus on Bitcoin, I think all of the gains, material gains and, property price increases that they saw over 4 decades are going to come to Bitcoiners in the next 10 years. And I look at that and think, how can you be upset with them? Thank you for giving us a wonderful platform to create this prosperity and wealth and bring the world, to a better place through Bitcoin. And all of that's going to happen over the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's those memes where someone says like, "Oh, the boomers that bought real estate for like 3 blueberries or anything like that. I think the same way, I mean, there have been websites where you give them the email and they give you hundreds of Bitcoin in the past when you look really back in the time. And even now, I look at, I have a wallet of Satoshi, and I have this like Robinhood wallet of Satoshi, and I get everyday sats from like ads. They're sending me 10 sats, 50 sats, 100 sats per day of like, hey, check this out, check this out. I'm like, just like, switch the thing that I don't see it. And I'm like, those hundreds of sats will be worth a lot of purchasing power in 15 years, in 20 years, in 10 years. And I'm like, this is crazy. I just made a wallet of Satoshi address, and I just get basically massively wealthy when you compare it to like in 10 years from that. And people don't even realize they give free sats away for what? To send out a link. And this is kind of the thing where maybe Blueberry, with the Blueberry mean of like, yeah, they bought real estate for free blueberries, but we are getting sent free sats.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about that is, I look at that and think you deserve all those what I call free sats, or what you call free sats, because, here you are working tirelessly to spread the message of Bitcoin and bring hopefully a message to someone that, would never understand Bitcoin. And, you don't know the impact that you have on, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there who listen in to learn more about Bitcoin from you. And sort of this, butterfly effect of, you know, the work you do having a significant impact on others can never be underestimated. And this is where I love seeing you get rewarded for that, because the tireless work that you put in helps change people's lives. And this is where that understanding that you help bring to market and all of your listeners is really, really valuable, because if everyone understood Bitcoin as well as you did, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah. And I guess there's a difference between people sending me sats and people just spamming wallet of Satoshi addresses with like weird links. but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I just saw that because I always look at like 1-2 interviews of a guest that I have, and I saw something crazy. You what was it? The Simply Bitcoin guys, the interview that you did with Nico. I love Nico. He was already 2 times on the show. Great guy.
Yeah.
I love. Like, I was like, oh gosh, like you're too Polish for me. And I rarely have this. And you had for 15 years 1,000x for Bitcoin, which I don't even know what this means in terms of price, but it's a lot. How do you come to that conclusion?
I think what that would be in today's terms would be roughly $120 million in 15 years. And I think that's a relatively conservative assumption. You look at a whole host of parameters that you can draw from. I look at Bitcoin as a medium exchange. I think it's eating the medium exchange market, which is a $100 trillion market cap. I look at the fact that it's absolutely decimating the store of value market, because we've got gold bleeding out into Bitcoin, but also the sort of the untold story of real estate and stocks being a store of value function now. They're going to be bleeding out and demonetizing relative to Bitcoin. So there's circa $400 to $500 trillion worth of value there, 20 trillion in the gold market, and then the mother of all beasts, which is the unit of account, which I think ultimately leads to what we would classically call hyper-Bitcoinization, the ascension of Bitcoin to the unit of account. If those three things happen, even partially, then we'll have 1,000x return from here in the next 15 years. And the facts of the matter is that we have huge amounts of capital sitting on the side that haven't even allocated to Bitcoin yet. And what's funny is, from a large capital allocator perspective, they're not wanting to even put $1 into Bitcoin unless they're assured that they can get out. And the pools of capital that are yet to come to Bitcoin are so vast that this market cap needs to be 10 times the size before they start allocating, because otherwise they're going to push the price around. And large capital allocators are far more concerned with getting out of a trade than getting into a trade, because if you get into a trade that you can't get out of, you can be absolutely wiped out. So this market cap needs to build enormously. And this is where, ironically, Bitcoin being a Veblen good, as the market gets bigger, it will actually attract more capital. It will push up prices. And what we're seeing is a whole host of significant hodlers of last resort coming to market that will never sell their Bitcoin. I dare say there's a portion of your stack, Robin, that you'll never sell. There's a portion of my stack I'll never sell. We're now having, capital or Bitcoin accumulators, like in the form of the Bitcoin Treasury companies, popping up all over the world. That their business model is premised on the fact that they can never sell Bitcoin, and the second they do, it unwinds their complete business strategy. So this is another black hole for Bitcoin that's coming to market, that's dragging different pools of capital that would never access Bitcoin or invest in it into Bitcoin. I look at this and I think we haven't even started tapping those major markets yet, and Bitcoin really needs to grow up in market cap, get 10x the size before it can really feel comfortable starting to drain those pools of capital. And what's funny is once Bitcoin gets to that size market cap, we're going to have less and less Bitcoins available for trade. And so at the very point in time when more and more capital's entering the market to buy Bitcoin, there's going to be less and less available. So this is where we get this exponential type return, where I don't think it is outrageous to think in 15 years we're going to see 1,000x return.
It's crazy to think about, and it's actually something I recently learned within the last year, where the bigger the Bitcoin market cap gets, the more capital it actually attracts to Bitcoin, which is weird to say. If a thing gets more expensive, more people want to buy it, kind of a thing. But with the financial assets, it makes a lot of sense. By the way, what's your take on Bitcoin treasury companies and how they like, it seems like every week is now a new treasury company popping up. It's almost like the ICO thing in 2017.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on the Bitcoin Treasury Company. I think as a whole for Bitcoin, it's a net benefit. They're bringing attention to Bitcoin. They're, I guess, influencing, manipulating capital markets for the benefit of Bitcoin. I think there are some actors in the space who are thinking that this is an opportunistic time for them to launch a Bitcoin treasury company who maybe they don't have the Bitcoin chops that you and I would expect for a Bitcoin maxi to be running a Bitcoin treasury company. But having said that, I think there are going to be good and bad actors in any marketplace, and it's going to be a net benefit for Bitcoin. The thing I'm really comfortable about is I think Bitcoin's greatest proponent is Michael Saylor, and he has the largest Bitcoin treasury company, and he buys more Bitcoin than all of the treasury companies combined on an annual basis. And I don't doubt Michael Saylor for 1 minute. I think his intentions are pure. I think he's arguably the best of us. He's got a great message. He delivers it in a fine way, and his message has been consistent. And it's very easy to get behind that and look at the performance of MicroStrategy. That's uplifted Bitcoin, and I think it's a net benefit. 1 and 1 makes 3 with these Bitcoin treasury companies as a whole. Not to say that there won't be any carnage along the way. I think there's going to be winners and losers. And if you're playing in that space, understand the risks, that it's far more volatile and risky than Bitcoin itself.
It's super interesting. And I had Sailor on, and I was at his 100K party, and I think that Michael Saylor is tremendously good for Bitcoin. To have such a guy in Bitcoin is just amazing. And obviously it benefits him personally, of course, also a lot, but the tremendous value that he brings with strategy and with his intellectual and with his army of people also to Bitcoin and advertising Bitcoin to a whole new group, because he was kind of the first one that really made the Bitcoin treasury companies and those things possible. But there are people that say, oh, like he's a bad actor and all those things. And I always say, does it matter if Michael Saylor is a bad or a good actor? Like, is even if he's a bad actor and he has some devious plan that we don't know about, which I don't think so, but Bitcoin is bigger than him. So it's like would it even matter if Michael Saylor has some bad plans? I don't know.
Boy, that's something I haven't really looked into or thought about, and I just really judge the man on what he's delivered at face value. And I think he's been incredibly beneficial for Bitcoin. I think he's been we've had some great Bitcoin evangelists over the years. I look at Max Kaiser being one of the greats, dear friend of mine, Jeff Booth, one of the greatest. I think he's wonderful. Preston, all wonderful advocates for Bitcoin. But I think it would be fair to say that the greatest reach, the greatest penetration that anyone's ever had is through Michael Saylor. And I think he's been consistent with a Bitcoin maxi mentality. So I think it's hard to criticize a person for your own imagined thoughts on what he's planning to do when he's been very consistent and transparent with what he's planning on doing, and he's delivered on it. So I think it might be grossly unfair to judge someone by your own thoughts on what you think they're going to do. I guess the whole legal system that we work on is innocent until proven guilty, yet some people want to impugn guilt before he's even done anything. So why don't we get to that bridge when we get to it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's mostly, I think, fueled by envy by people for him, but he's been great. And this kind of also, for me, when we look at 2024, maybe 2025, it's probably 2024, which kind of noted the change what Bitcoin really is. Not what Bitcoin really is, but like how Bitcoin ecosystem kind of evolved. Before that, we had Saylor, we had some other companies, Tesla already bought Square and all those other companies. But with 2024, with the Bitcoin ETF, and now with that really high focus of Bitcoin Treasury companies, institutions are slowly coming in. And yeah, like I get, like, we are very at the very start of it. So it's like we haven't even seen any kind of real big capital flowing into Bitcoin. Have been some volume, but like in terms of the bigger volume that will come, not. But how do you see this changing landscape when we think about what Bitcoin was 2017, 2020, and what it is now in 2025, and how this gets forward, and how it's kind of getting more and more financialized in the fiat system?
Oh, it's a great question. Probably a better reframing of that is the financial system's getting more Bitcoinized.
Yes.
And it's not the big eat the slow, the fast eat the small, eat the slow. And this is where I look at this and think, in a lot of the work we do for clients in putting investment portfolios together, what's really interesting is it's like that moment Galileo discovered that the world revolves around the sun, not the sun revolving around the world. And traditional finance is having that heliocentric moment as we speak. They think the whole financial world revolves around the Federal Reserve and the central banks. But you and I know that the entire world is revolving around Bitcoin. They just don't know it yet. And our world revolves around it. And what's funny, as each day goes past, more and more people join our team than join the Federal Reserve and central bank team. And they opt out of that co-opted and dishonest system of having a few key decision makers determine what the interest rates are, what the inflation rate is determined to be. Objectively, of course, it's nothing but, it's just subjective. The unemployment numbers are fiddled with. The GDP numbers are basically whatever you want them to be. And that's the system that everyone's currently applauding, or the majority of the world is applauding at the moment. And here we have an honest system that is working day in, day out, every 10 minutes, producing a new block that everyone can see exactly what's going on at any one point in time. It's, I've heard it called the truth machine, the time chain, whatever you want to call it. But there is only one system that's incorruptible on Earth, and that is Bitcoin. And as more and more people around the world figure that out, I think more and more people are going to migrate their time and money to Bitcoin.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.